Hello, I'm Peter.
And I'm Harry.
And this is Man Up,
Man Down.
the podcast where we talk about growing up in the 21st century as a young person
Our experiences with mental health.
and the things that we have to go through as young people in this modern day and age.
We'll be discussing several topics over the course of, we're going to
About 8 weeks.
about 8 weeks we're looking at. And the idea is that we draw our own conclusions, I guess, at the end of each topic that we discuss, kind of figure out for ourselves. We're learning, aren't we, whilst we're doing this?
So, Harry, number 2.
We're
Podcast
back.
number 2, we're back. This isn't one of those, those things that they do one episode of and then give up on. Well, not yet anyway. We're back for a second one. So how you doing, mate? How's your week been?
It's been good, thank you. Yeah, no, bright. How about yourself?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, we did. I did the big walk.
You
for Mind, which was I think I estimated it would be about 28 miles, but I think it was nearer 36. But that was a great thing to do. It's quite challenging, I think, but the more I got into it, the more it got easier, I guess.
36 miles, wasn't it?
Yeah, 36 miles.
62,000 steps.
Yeah, and I set off about 7 in the morning, and I got there at half 6 in the evening.
And
So it was a long day.
You did that for the charity Mind.
Yes, and we raised, at the time of recording, we've raised £600. So that's, I guess, the big achievement in the last week for me. What else has gone on? Anything exciting? Doc 2 turned 59 this week.
It did.
What else? Anything exciting going on?
I'm trying to think. Honestly, no, I can't really think of much, to be fair.
Yeah. Wow, what exciting lives we lead. I got a haircut.
You did get a haircut.
Yeah. Do you like the haircut?
Debatable.
It's a bit short, isn't it?
It's a little bit, but
Yeah.
no, it'll grow.
Yeah. Better to be too short than too long. I don't know, actually. Is that a thing? I don't know.
Anyhow.
Moving on. So, yeah, the second podcast that we're going to do today is about mental health because obviously the walk that I did was for mental health, it was for mind. And I think, especially at this time of year, I think mental health is a very important thing to talk about. We spoke on the last one about, being very open and candid about our feelings and stuff. So I thought it'd be a good one to kind of do quite early in the podcast run. We have got a guest coming on, I guess, later in the podcast, who I wasn't expecting to have on this early, to be fair, but I was speaking to him in my local pub, and he seemed quite a good guest to have on. So I guess all will become clear with that in later in the podcast. But maybe we should just talk a little bit about it before we go over to the special guest, because you're not going to be here for that later on because you're busy watching football.
It came at a time that England are on, so
yeah. So is anything that you want? Is anything that you want to say about mental health before we go over to the professional? I say he is professional.
I think you've highlighted a good point. We're in the winter now. At this time of year, a lot of people do, suffer with a lot of loneliness. I think that's a big thing.
Yeah.
I think it's good. It's good to have people around you during the Christmas period. You know what I mean? People can feel quite isolated sometimes, especially like older people and that perhaps aren't getting out as much. They're not seeing people as much. But for us, like you say, young people, again, it's a time of the year that can affect us.
Yeah. I suppose it affects young people in a different way to old people, doesn't it? Because, like you say, with old people you've got loneliness, but with young people, I suppose loneliness is still there. Maybe there's an element that if you're single over Christmas, you don't get certain things like going to Christmas markets with a girlfriend. There's certain things you do miss out on.
Yeah, you raise a point. I think, there
is a certain loneliness involved, I guess.
Yeah, because it's a time throughout the festive period. It's a time where people really do embrace relationships, don't they? Be it with a family or a partner or both. So I get that how. And then I think Valentine's Day is is that in February? So it's around similar time. So
I guess it's still technically winter, end of winter.
So for people perhaps that are single, it can. I'm sure it can have an impact for a lot of people. If you're seeing stuff around you that on the outside seems really.
I know that. Well, I know that the I don't know what the actual kind of effect of it is, but I know when it's sunnier, you are naturally more positive because the sunlight helps your mood. There's a some sort of chemical or vitamin.
Yeah, there's something I heard a long time ago. Is because obviously when you're young growing up, you're taught, aren't you? You learn, you associate the sunshine with feelings of happiness and joy and all that. You know, like a sunny beach, this, that, the other. You feel better, your mood raises. It's weird. I don't know. It's like, you know, it's the same way that perhaps we'd associate the rain and a dull sky with feeling miserable and you know, depressed and that kind of thing.
And it's raining a lot more.
Yeah, no, it is, especially in Manchester. It's not. It's like that all year round,
yeah,
really. You don't really get much sun.
So, is there anything you want to say about, you know? I suppose we've got to be sensitive, but is there anything you want to say about your own experiences of mental health? Because this may be I don't want to say the only opportunity we'll get to talk about, but this is probably the most suitable one because we're doing it obviously about mental health this week.
Well, I suffered quite profoundly for a long period of time. I think about 12, 13 years. Now, obviously, being an adult and that, I've got the understanding of, and I'm diagnosed as well now with autism and depression. So, I've always been sceptical about the depression diagnosis because I don't know. I just feel like, I mean, they say, and I can't argue with science. They say chemically there's an imbalance of a hormone called serotonin, which is obviously responsible for mood and happiness and that kind of thing, and fulfillment, I'd say, more than anything. But yeah, so obviously since I was diagnosed at the age of 20, so quite late really. Prior to that, obviously I suffered, not in silence, absolutely not. You know, I had the support, the backing of my parents and everything like that. It's just we didn't know what.
My parents.
No, it did. They really did help. And obviously, like, yeah, it was a weird one for me personally because I knew I was different, but I never really was able to comprehend why. I just thought I was a bit weird and a bit of a nutcase and that, But obviously, autism's an interesting one because it's very much. I mean, most, mental health conditions are on a spectrum. You know what they say, but like with autism, for example, that really is a spectrum disorder. Two people can have autism in a room, and it can affect them in completely, different ways. Some people are quite, some people are actually quite confident in that in social situations. Whereas
you're quite
others,
confident.
Yeah, you'd say I might appear that way. Yeah. Actually, I'd say more so I am. Whereas, somebody else might be incredibly reserved, quite really shy, not want to talk. That's, I think, Asperger's syndrome. I think they're very similar, where you struggle with social interaction skills and stuff like that. ADHD is another one that I was. They considered for a good while that I had ADHD. I think I might have in childhood and perhaps grown out of it. I'm not sure because I know that is quite common actually. Is people that affects the concentration a bit. They're quite hyperactive as
and can't concentrate on things for long periods of time. Yeah.
The thing is with mental health conditions, it's like it's strange, isn't it? Because to a point we all do things and have our habits that would perhaps implement the condition. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Like in ways, we all feel sad. That could be depression. We all from time to time struggle with our concentration. That could be said to be ADHD. Do you know what I mean?
And this is the great thing. This is the thing about mental health is that maybe I was going to touch more on this with Brendan later on, but I think there's a line somewhere. It's not a very clear line, but there's a line between mental health and just having a bad day, because like you say, everyone has bad days. Yeah. But I guess not necessarily everyone has mental health issues. Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I think where it becomes diagnosable perhaps is where it's something that's
affecting you
with a consistency where like it's affecting you daily and in a way that it makes for me, for example, like in the past, I know I'm unemployed currently and I do need to fix that up, but in the past I have struggled in jobs because of what's been underlying. I've struggled a lot with my concentration, a lot with
struggled to go to work, struggled to have the motivation to go to work.
Yeah, absolutely. Motivation's a big thing. It's difficult if you're going through a bad time. It takes a lot to get up early, to get to shower, to you want to take that pride in yourself, but sometimes we do kind of fade away from that sometimes when we're going through things. So it's all about, I guess, just doing everything you can to ensure you feel motivated and ready for the day and that, because the conditions aren't going to go, but they could definitely be controlled. And a big thing that's helped me so much has been medication. You've seen the change in me since I've been on medication and that.
Yeah, it's more kind of, I guess, it's not so black and white now.
Yeah, I mean, initially I was, you could ask my parents or, I think I've said to yourself actually as well in the past, you might recall that I was opposed to medication. I was really opposed. I thought, well, why do I have to take something to, I thought it would like change me as a person entirely and that, but it's not the case. It just slows me down a lot. It enables me to concentrate more. Essentially, I'm just more relaxed on them, which is, more relaxed you are, easier any situation becomes.
Can we talk a little bit about, and I don't know whether this is maybe a step too far of something to talk about, but can we talk a little bit about, your lowest points?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
The points that...
Look, the whole point of our podcast is that, nothing's really too far. Do you know what I mean? Like I said that in a weird
Sit up
way.
for taking your clothes off in front of
me. Do you know what I mean, though? Like, we're open. That's the point, man up, man down, Lowest points, suicide, I'd say.
Yeah.
In terms of attempting suicide, obviously, thank God, unsuccessfully. But I'd say that's been the lowest points. I'm not sure because I'm conscious. For any viewers perhaps that might be going through similar. I am a bit conscious. I don't want to perhaps go into details as such.
Yeah.
For the purpose of viewers, not like I'm easy to talk. I'm fine to talk about it. It's just I know for some people it could be quite.
It's a very sensitive subject.
Could be quite upsetting. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say that's been the lowest point, and just the stress, the consistency of panic attacks, the symptoms that come with it, because the problem is with autism and worrying especially is anxiety's kind of got free reign. So the usual filter that someone would have where you're able to comprehend things and calm down a lot easier, and I'm not trying to say that others don't suffer with anxiety or anything to say, I completely acknowledge that, but with autism especially, it's one where the tendency to become overwhelmed is so much faster and so much more intense that it can really become, it just takes over really. It has been difficult in the past, but there's so many great options, and you've highlighted you did your Mind Walk. Mind's a great organisation. There's so many great, another one that really helped me actually was Samaritans charity.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Always there 24 hours of the day, 7 days a week, annually, just to speak. And honestly, just they don't tell you what to do. Even if you're honestly suicidal in the moment, they know exactly how to deal with the situation.
How to approach it,
Yeah, they know that if they said don't do it or this, that, the other, they know that wouldn't be appropriate at the time. They're brilliant. Honestly, they're brilliant, and the good thing is I find myself using the services less and less now.
That's good.
Which barely ever now, to be honest. But
it's one of those things. It's like it's a great thing, I suppose, like a dating app would be, but the objective is to use it as little as you can. Do you know what I mean? It's a strange thing, really. It's not a very good business practice in a way because you want to try and use it less and less. But okay, so have you got any advice? And I know it's a very sensitive thing because you're not an expert in the same way, but have you got any advice for anybody that is struggling with the mental health, or anything like that?
Well, I'm not saying this in any, don't know how to put this, to be honest, but I have been at the very bottom for a long time. Throughout, I kept it very, very, very quiet and close to my chest, but throughout all high school, I was suffering pretty much.
Yeah, because I didn't know in high school.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
If you remember, we didn't see each other between, I guess, the end of high school and about 3 years after that. And when I saw you, 3 years after high school, I realised then that you had stuff going on. But you in high school never.
No, yeah, I kept a firm lid on it. I didn't want to. I didn't want anyone ever seeing. That's the great thing with the podcast now is, I wouldn't have ever thought down the line that we'd have the relationship, the friendship we have, where we're able to talk about this sort of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Because I never thought a friend would ever know about any of the stuff that went on. I just didn't feel comfortable at all, and that's probably
What was it that made you feel comfortable? I'm not saying talking to me, but talking to any friends. What was the initial?
I think it was reflection of the stigmatization. Do you know what I mean? With men that we can't talk, and I thought, well, actually, like friends. Do you know what I mean? You should be able to. That's the whole point of friendship, really, is you don't keep secrets. You don't hide your feelings or anything. And
and I guess you feel like you know them better as well, because we've got friends who don't open up, and I'm not going to obviously name names, but we have got friends that don't open up. Of course,
yeah.
And I feel like I don't know them as well. I feel like I don't know them. What they because they must have had bad days, good days.
Oh, of course, we all do. That's the thing. That's the crazy thing is with mental health, is it does in some way or another affect us all, and that's why because I feel like it should be a lot more normalised, and it is getting better in society now. There is a lot more funding and that goes into mental health. There's a lot more attention that goes into it because the rates of suicide and self-harm are so high.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's one of them things. Like for me personally, I think that being as a man, being able to open up and express your feelings, your emotions to your friends, be it boys, girls, whoever, like, it's a big thing and it's a good thing, because I was so surprised when I initially spoke to yourself about it, how supportive you were and how understanding you were. Because that's the big thing. I didn't think people would understand if I said, because some of my issues were, and I never really open up about them, even now, because they're that. They were kind of, a lot of them were specific phobias. Some of them were a bit more generalised. Some of them were just really psychological. They were, when I say that, I mean they were almost entirely in my head.
Irrational.
Completely irrational. But in my head, the absolute rational.
What sort of things, if I can ask?
So, I'm trying to think of it, like. So there's one good example actually I can give is in school. I'm trying to think how to word this so it makes sense. Something irrational that felt rational. Trying to think, actually. You got me there.
I guess there's part of it as well where you don't want to, when you have a mental health thing going on, you don't want to be judged and you don't want to feel like a burden. I guess they're two striking feelings that you must have.
Yeah. I'll give you one example, right? I used to worry hugely about getting ill. I did. I'd hear about stuff on the news about people getting cancer or this, that, the other, or people just suddenly becoming terminally ill, and I would do everything in my power to avoid that. But the problem is I was doing it so obsessively and in such an unnatural way that I was actually, but not just that, like physically, it was actually doing me worse, because you need
certain amount of bacteria,
stuff. You need bacteria for antibodies and that. And I was finding I was getting ill more, because it's not just the physically, like the mental side of it. As we talk about mental health, worrying can make you physically sick. It can make you when people get panic attacks and they go pale in the face and they start to either shake or they'll sweat profoundly and this, that, the other, and it's awful. And I can sympathise with anyone that's gone through anything like that.
What do you think? And maybe this is a question that I'd be better asking Brendan, who does work in the NHS and in the mental health sector.
Yeah, have we said that, by the way, that obviously our special guest Brendan, he works in mental health services.
Yeah, so he's more of an expert than I guess we are. But I'll ask you anyway. What do you think is, with our age range and our friendship circle and people that we interact with, what do you think is the most common mental health issue?
Oh, definitely depression, 100%.
Not anxiety. I mean, I guess it's all connected.
You could say generalised anxiety. They say anxiety and depression, don't they?
Yeah.
It always usually comes in two, because they're so similar. Like, if you're depressed, you're gonna be feeling anxiety. If you're anxious, you're no doubt gonna be feeling depressed. So the two go together, really. But depression, I think, is the biggest. Because and this is the thing though, is there is a difference between feeling depressed and being depressed.
Yeah.
If you are depressed, like I am, then it's suggesting that chemically, without me taking medication to enable that drug, it's that's what enables me to function adequately. Whereas someone that's just going through depression might be entirely healthy in terms of chemically with the hormones, they're balanced, but they're going through a terrible time.
Yeah, I guess you could have, if you're made, I guess, redundant from work, for example.
Yeah.
That could temporarily make you feel depressed.
You'd feel pretty much exactly what someone who's diagnosed depression would feel.
Yeah.
Like you're feeling the same.
But
misery.
It's not long term.
No, it's
maybe.
not. It's temporary in a sense that it's something that is not. It's not a chemical imbalance. So everything's there. It's present. It's just, whereas mine isn't actually present. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm lacking. Obviously, I have some hormones of serotonin, or I'd be completely lost, but just less than the average person.
Yeah.
Or something like that. I don't know the ins and outs of the science, but you just highlighted a really good point there, though. Someone that perhaps goes through a bad breakup or a divorce or this, that, the other, or they've lost their job, they've lost somebody we spoke about grief
last week.
Yeah. So there's so many reasons in that, and that's why obviously, depression is, I would say, the most common. But we all go through anxiety, of course. Yeah, but that's the thing is since it's so normal in that sense, it's not something it should be talked about. Do you know what I mean? Because it's not something that's like out the ordinary. Like I think people in their heads, they believe it is, and they don't want to talk about it.
I think they're the only person, don't they? I guess in that mindset.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think it's a lot more common. I think it's actually as well. Sad thing is, I think it's getting a lot more common through the years. I think because of the pandemic and because of cost of living crisis and because of a lot of things going on.
So it's and there's so much to worry about, isn't there?
Well, I think as well. I did hear something on the radio the other day that I thought was quite interesting. That said, like, I think it was Devine or someone that said that, like, maybe it's because maybe the reason that so many teenagers and young people are getting mental health issues these days is because adults are putting all the issues of the world onto their kids. It's on the news, you see it on TikTok, you see all the everything going on in Ukraine and everything going on in the rest of the world, and whilst it is good to have an understanding of what's going on in the world, I think sometimes that can be quite depressing.
Well, I mean, you say I feel like technology is a big thing, isn't it? Because there's so much that we have now that it's just it's almost like it's too much for our brains, and we just I'm terrible for it on the phone constantly.
Yeah,
scrolling TikTok or on social media and that, and I can understand.
I guess you can pay yourself.
Yeah, you do naturally. I think I mean, it's. I think a lot of people would suggest otherwise because they wouldn't want to admit to it, would they? But us as guys as well, I think it's really bad for girls, especially though, because they're we don't worry about filtering our face or putting makeup on or this, that, the other.
But and this is one thing that I know Christopher Eccleston talked about in his autobiography. I think it is getting a lot worse for guys as well, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
In the last 50 years. I mean, if you go back 50 years or so, I think it was pretty much primarily girls that would have had the issues with, worrying about how they look, how they feel, etc. But I think in the last 50 years, there's been a marked increase. This is just my feeling on it, and I guess what Christopher Eccleston said in his book. But I think there's been a marked increase in how guys feel they should look, because we get so much these days about guys must work out this many times, you should look a certain way, you should have, do you get what I mean?
Yeah, and then it's like it's similar for girls. Women in the sense that that it's wrong to be a bit bigger or this, that, the other, or or that you have to look a certain way to appear attractive for this, that, the other. Like it's not good. Do you know what I mean? Because we're all different shapes, we're all different sizes, we're all unique in our own separate ways, and that's what I think should be embraced. It's a weird one, but I think especially with social media is a big thing for mental health, isn't it? A huge thing, because people do naturally compare yourself to others, or you start I'm talking like especially like celebrities and that, if you follow celebrities and that, and you envy.
But even people, I guess, closer to you, if you feel that people are doing better with their careers than you because they're posting on Instagram, or if you see someone on a nice holiday and you've had a holiday since pre-pandemic, or if you see somebody with the pictures with the girlfriend in a nice restaurant and you're single eating a Mackey's takeaway in your living room, then it's very easy to compare.
It's true though. It's true. It's very true. But you've highlighted something there, like comparison. That's quite a big thing, isn't it? With mental health is
because nobody puts their bad days on Instagram, do they?
Yeah. Oh no.
Really?
Well, that's the thing and that's where that's where, you know, I've thought about it, and when I think about it, I'm like, hold on, they're not going to post themselves crying alone in the room, are they?
No.
Like, I know that sounds really bad, but I'm just saying.
No, but you're right. They're not going to put, "Hi guys, I just lost this job today." They're not going to do it, are they?
There's a lot that goes on, I'm sure, you know, in terms of people. They can present like happy relationships online.
And you don't know what's going on behind.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily mean that's the case at all.
Yeah.
I'm not preying on people's downfalls. I'm just saying, like I know it's not necessarily always the truth. But yeah, I just highlighted. I just thought technology was a good thing to emphasise in terms of mental health, because we have so much that it's almost like, I just say, it's like it's more to worry about. We've got more things now than ever before, and like you mentioned now, you know, in particular, not to get political, but you know, the cost of living crisis. Crisis, I said crisis.
Yeah. No, you're right.
And the increase in
because
prices,
because I guess it does. You know, again, I don't want to get political, and we're not political people really, but I guess it does affect everything. You know, it does affect, even on the most basic level of, you know, cost of living crisis affects how much money we have. How much money we have affects whether we can go to the pub and do quiz night, or go on a night out, or get the latest Doctor Who DVD. You know what I mean? It's on the most basic level. It does affect your life.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then I guess it does affect your mental health in some regard.
I've got a question for you actually, because you asked me before about, you know, my worst experience. What would you say yours is off the top of your head? I know it's a pretty open question.
I think, I mean, we did touch on it a lot in the last episode, but I think losing my grandma was a big one for me, and it was probably the first time I really became aware of mental health. I think before that I had, and we spoke about it a little bit in the last episode, I think I had been a little bit kind of lacking empathy for people who had mental health issues, and it really took my grandma passing away for me to go through the motions myself and sympathise more with other people.
Well, we said, didn't we, on the previous episode that, you know, and it, as horrific as it is, sometimes losing someone so dear to you is what is kind of the, you know, the catalyst, the wake up call where you think, I've got to start acknowledging other people and that, because you never know what's going to happen.
I think I've also, I guess more recently, I guess in the last year or two, and maybe it's because in a way my life has been moving a lot faster than it had been before, in that I moved out, bought a car, you know, I've been doing all this stuff for charity.
Yeah.
I think because my life's been moving so fast, I think I have felt within the last few months, and I think I'm getting a little bit better now. I think in the last month or two I've been better. But I went through like a stage during summer where I kind of, my self-esteem was quite low. Like we did a film screening of my latest film in September.
You didn't see myself, did you?
And like that was at the end of September, and like I watched it back recently, a week or two ago, and like I can tell from my body language, and I can tell from the way I'm talking, and I can tell the way I'm being so self-deprecating. I can tell from all of it that I don't think I was in such a good place right then in terms of how I felt about what I was capable of. Because, like, not to blow my own trumpet, whatever the phrase is, but like I've achieved so much this year, and I really should think about the positives. But I think as humans, and we spoke about this before, but I think as humans we do focus on the negatives.
We do. And
I think that's one of the things that I all too easily do. I mean, I don't know if that's is that connected to mental health? I don't know. I guess it kind of is.
Absolutely, yeah. No, 100%. Focusing on negativity is a huge aspect of mental health, and that's, you know, it's very easy to say when someone's suffering, well, just focus on the positives and that. But you know, you're not going to, are you? Because it's almost black and white to you. You can't see that grey area where you want to reflect on the positives, the good things that are going on. I'd say, you know, I hate giving advice. I'm not really someone who likes giving advice, but I would say from my own...
Great podcast for it then.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe this is where I start to change. Maybe this is where I start to, you know, because I'm learning and developing as we do this, which is another great thing of, you know, it's helping hopefully others, viewers, and certainly myself, because I'm still like I say, I'm still...
well, we're only 22.
Exactly, and we will, really young, yeah.
We'll probably get to 25, 26, and if we listen back to these episodes, we'll go, oh, we were so wrong at 22. Yeah. I mean, keep listening, guys. There will be some good stuff in it. But I think,
it's not all doom and gloom.
But I think that I think we'll reflect back on some of it and go, yeah, you. I mean, I don't know about you, but you get to a certain point where, like, I mean, for example, now as a 22-year-old, I look back on 16, 17-year-old Pete and go, a lot of stuff that he was doing then was wrong, and a lot of the mindsets he had then was wrong.
Oh yeah, no, I'm full of remorse for a lot of the things that I've said and done, and this, that, the other. But one thing I can say is that, you know, the great thing is that I have learnt from them. I'm not still in that same position where I'm doing stuff perhaps that that I now obviously wouldn't approve of.
Well, one thing I would say, I've obviously not been diagnosed with anxiety, but I think everyone goes through, I think it'd be fair to say everyone goes through spells of feeling anxious about stuff and worrying about stuff. My big worry for I guess the last year or last 6 months has been about the future, because I finished uni now and I'm not at my flat anymore. I've moved back home, and I think there's a big worry of what is the next step, and I honestly don't know that. So one thing I was going to say that helped me when I was worrying and was at my lowest, I guess, is is to write stuff down, because I think it was you that told me to do that, was to write down what you're worried about, and I wrote down 6 worries in late August or early August.
Prioritised them, didn't you, from like the biggest worry to the least?
I prioritised them, yeah, but I also realised, and this was the real moment penny dropped, and actually I've never felt a feeling like it where I went from so anxious to so amazed within about an hour, because I realised that all 6 of those things, and yeah, in the moment they do affect my life. Like, one of them was you
panic, don't you? The thing is, that's the thing with anxiety, is you can't see clearly because you're kind of fogged out, aren't you? In panic.
Yeah, but what I was going to say was that although some of the worries were valid, like uni stress or where I'm going to live or this and that and other stuff going on, although they were valid, I think that I looked through the list of all 6, and all 6 of them, if you'd asked me in a year's time from then, wouldn't have even been on my mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was such they were such temporary worries, because let's take the uni one as an example, and I can't remember what the other 5 were off the top of my head, but the uni one was like, what if I fail uni? And that was never going to happen, because I'd never failed any of my other modules, so why was I suddenly now going to fail my final module? It wasn't going to happen. But if it did, I'd just resit it, or if I couldn't resit it, then it's not the end of the world. I've still got a BA degree, and I've still got a lot more going for me than some other people. And that's not to put them down, but it's to say,
no, absolutely,
it's to praise your own achievements. I guess.
Absolutely. No, you've got to acknowledge your own success, absolutely. And I think that you highlight there. That's one piece of advice we can give. Actually, I mentioned. Sorry, I didn't give my advice, did I? Writing stuff down really, really does help. I don't actually keep like a journal or a diary, but
I don't. But I've heard that's meant to be good.
No, absolutely, yeah, and if anything, it helps with your organisation as well, because I think a big factor of worry is you lose organisation. I
think it's that having a to-do list as well. If you wake up and you know exactly what you're going to do every day, you then don't stay in bed till 11, 12, moping about whatever it may be that you're worried about.
Well, you need structure. I mean, you look at, especially in my position, I don't mind sharing, obviously I've said before anyway, about me being currently unemployed.
Yeah.
Whilst I focus getting a job, I need to be doing stuff productive throughout the day, be it, just common chores which I do in the house, or cleaning the garden, this, that, the other, whatever.
Or going on nights out. Or
yeah. Well, you've got to have a perk. But
no, you're right though, and I think
my point is structure is a huge thing that will help. If you're going through stress and that, and you've lost all your motivation and everything, and you don't even want to get up in the morning, give yourself a reason to. Give yourself something even if it's just one thing, something where you think, this is going to make me, it's not going to take away my problems, but it's going to make me in this moment feel a little bit better, a little bit more relaxed.
Yeah, and it can be the most basic of tasks as well. So like the other day I had a to-do list on my phone, and one of the things was literally go to Sainsbury's and buy some new work trousers. And that was like the only thing I had to do that day. But it's like, it gave me a reason to get out of bed and go, well, I'm going to do that. But also, I think it's an amazing thing to do, is to, maybe this isn't to do with mental health, maybe this is a separate conversation, but maybe this is the one we can talk about, when we talk about fears, we can talk about this a little bit more. But I think it's great to have some challenges to your day as well. So for me, it wasn't just wake up and buy work trousers. It was wake up, drive to Sainsbury's and buy work trousers. Yeah. And now that might not sound like a big deal, but for me, driving is a great anxiety. It's something I worry a lot about. Yeah. So that was a bit of a triumph for me, was driving to Sainsbury's on my own. Well, not on my own. I mean, you were there, but like to do that is like you feel a great sense of pride. And I guess it connects a little bit to my next topic, which was going to be, we both find that physical exercise is helpful.
It's proven to boost your endorphins and that. We talk about hormones before and that. One thing that can really exercise those, no pun intended, is exercise. Is Be it sport, it doesn't even have to be sport. Obviously, I've been, compromising my knee for quite a long time now. I had a surgery, didn't I, for my ACL.
Yeah.
So I've not been able to play football. That's a big thing for me that did affect me because, I used to love playing football.
But I found going to the gym very useful for 2 reasons, actually. So I think, first of all, it distracts you. And, for me, for example, I can put on a Doctor Who audiobook, or I can put on some music, or I can put on a podcast.
Yeah.
And you're out of the rest of the world for an hour or 2 hours, whatever it may be. And the second one is, there's kind of 2 points to this. So the second one is like, you feel a sense of achievement at the end. You're like, right, I've been to the gym today. I've done it. You know what I mean? Like, I've not just stayed in bed all day.
There's no better feeling, and it comes in time. That's the beauty of it, is because you're not going to see it overnight. But in time, you will see the results as well. Physically, when you are in shape, you do feel, and this is absolutely in no way to disrespect to anyone that's.
That is a more general conversation, I think, about, because I really want to do a podcast in a few weeks about goals and setting goals and trying to change ourselves.
It'd be a good thing to
highlight,
yeah.
I think that's a really important thing to talk about with goals, is that I think when you have a setback or when you're not seeing progress, that can be the most disheartening thing.
Yeah.
The moment you start to see progress is the most beautiful moment ever. Like when I lost a lot of weight about a year and a half ago, that when I started to see that the weight was being lost, that was like a great moment, because it's like, right, well, finally I'm seeing progress for the exercise that I'm doing or the fasting that I'm doing. I'm seeing progress. And I think you've got to, whether you have a setback, so for example, my big goal at the moment has been waking up early, because I think sorting out your sleeping pattern is a great thing for enabling you to have that rest period of, I'm trying to get 8 hours sleep a night, so I'm going to bed at 10:30, I'm waking up at 6:30, and then going to the gym. And I think it's very important to get 8 hours sleep, because then you feel refreshed, you don't feel tired, and B, it sets you some sort of routine for your day and night.
Sleeping and eating's the 2 biggest things. I can say
it's like a car. How can a car run without petrol?
Exactly. It's a really good analogy, that, and I've got to say from my own experiences, sleep deprivation combined with not eating, combined with drinking heavy, doesn't indicate healthy. I
think as well, if you go to bed at 10:30, which is what I've been doing for most this month, and I've had a few blips, but you can't let the blips get to you, you can't let the setbacks get to you, you've got to try and keep ploughing on. But regardless of those blips, the days that I've gone to bed at 10:30 at night, I've found that I've gone to bed at 10:30, and within half an hour to an hour I've been asleep. Whereas I used to find that if I was staying up till 1, 2, 3 in the morning, I'd be scrolling through TikTok, or I'd be worrying about things, or you overthink things.
It's all that discipline, isn't it? It's discipline. It's training your mind to think sleep, because TikTok especially, because you can scroll so quick, and there's so much that, and usually people's For You pages are
hypnotizes
they're centered around things that they enjoy watching. The content that you enjoy, be it sport or makeup or what makeup and beauty, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So you're filling your brain with all that information.
And let's be honest. And again, maybe we'll do a podcast about social media at some point, maybe. But let's be honest. Most of it is pointless. Most of it is not going to have an impact on your day. What you see.
Yeah, online. I mean, I agree really, because I think for a marketing tool, if it's for business purposes, I think it's brilliant. It's a efficient way. It's cost efficient. It's a good way to market and advertise things, your products and services. But the problem is it just gets. There's so much now around, like this like whole influencer culture, and this idea that, I don't know, it's that you've got to have certain clothes, or you've got to live a certain lifestyle, you've got to go on holidays every week and post it, and it's like it's become, people aren't actually having fun anymore. It's just about updating.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They can go to a concert and they spend the whole time just looking at themselves on the phone.
And I can scroll through, and that's another conversation. When you film at concerts, do you ever actually watch the videos back? Of course you don't.
No, never. That's the thing. It's just for the purpose of sending it to someone else to say, I've been here.
Yeah.
But you're not actually
But when you scroll through Instagram or scroll through Facebook or even messaging people on Snapchat, I suppose, to an extent, or TikTok, or whatever it may be, it's just like, I don't want to say rot in your brain, because that sounds like I'm an old person that hates TV, but like, I just find that it's like, is any of it really useful? Do you actually look at it and go, yeah, that was a good half hour spent scrolling through Facebook?
No,
not really.
No, honestly, no. I can't say I do. It's just like a bad habit, isn't it, really?
The only thing I would say I genuinely get from, well, there's 2 things I get from social media. First one is news, whether that be real news, or like, oh, this Doctor Who box set's coming out, and that's obviously put on social media, so I'm like, all right, I'll pre-order that box set, whatever, maybe, that's quite useful.
Yeah.
The other thing is, sometimes I find out an interesting fact about Doctor Who on Twitter, but like, that isn't enough to justify 6 hours scrolling on Facebook and Instagram. And
it's interesting that I think collectively, I mean, there's features of the app on Instagram, for example, where you can monitor and you can see how much time you spend daily.
Well, you can do it on your phone. In fact, should we? I mean, this isn't really mental health related, but should we see what ours is?
Yeah, I mean, mine, I'm going to be honest, is probably not going to be... Unfortunately, I've left my phone at home.
What? Oh, right, okay.
Yeah, sorry, that's frustrating. But I can say,
I won't reveal mine then.
Well, from the top of my head...
It'll be something crazy. It'll be a few hours.
Probably maybe 9 or 10 hours a day.
Wow.
Like, it's a lot. It's bad. It's bad. Wow. Like, collectively, that's how much time... Because we're on it constantly. But this is the thing, we're constantly on our phones. Don't we? Sorry, no, I was just going to say, like... When we're off the phone and we're out and we're going on these walks and to places we've not been before, or camping trips to places we've not been, and we're exploring...
Where you can't get signal.
Yeah, where literally you can't get signal, and we're exploring new places and that. How good does it feel?
Yeah.
Like, mentally. You're just free, aren't you? It's just... It's different.
No, you are right. You are right. And it is... Yeah. It does, I guess, take over your life, and it does... I mean, I did a month without my phone. During the lockdown, I did a whole month without my phone. Put my phone in a drawer and didn't look at it once.
Big thing, that.
And it was like the first week or two was really difficult. But the further I got along, I realised how much I didn't need it, and actually, I realised how much spare time I had. Like, you have so many hours in the day where you just not.
Yeah.
You don't need it. But the difficult thing I found was that in the first week or two, or maybe first 2 weeks, when you're not having a phone, I went to my local pub, and for whatever reason, nobody else was free, so I kind of just went on my own. I mean, I'm not an alky, I probably just had a Fanta or whatever, but I was on my own, and because I didn't have my phone on me, and because I was on my own, it's such an awkward experience, because you're just looking around at people, there's nothing, it's like we can't function without our phones nowadays.
Yeah.
If you're not on your phone, you have to look around taking your surroundings, but it feels so awkward, and you feel like you're not used to it. But yeah. Should we go back to mental health anyway? So what, any last kind of, because I'm conscious of time, because we want to do a kind of extended conversation with Brendan. So, any last words of advice? Any last things you want to say? Any last things that you've found with mental health?
I can't, and it wouldn't be fair to ever relate my issues with anybody else. But one thing I can say is, I have felt for myself that I've been at the very, very bottom, and I'm still here. That's what I want to emphasise. Is I've struggled very, very badly throughout all my adolescent years. Really, from I'd say from about 11 to 19, certainly. Only the last couple of years have I started to, because I am getting older now, which is good. It's I understand things more. I think getting diagnosed was a big thing. Medication certainly has been a big thing for me. But one thing I want to say, it's not so much advice, more just
hang in there.
It's about, it's not advice, is it? It's just me saying that you don't need to die. I'm sorry, as crude as it is, that's.
I guess what you're trying to say is that there is always a better day. There is always something worth living for. I mean, we've had this conversation before when you were going through your lowest points, and I think it's very difficult for me to kind of understand because I've not been through that. But for me, if I had nothing, even a walk in the park would be worth living for. Now, I know that's probably quite insensitive of me to say that in a way, because I understand that's not your mindset when you are suicidal, when you are depressed.
Yeah.
But what I'm trying to say is that I guess there is always a better day, and there is always something worth living for.
Well, typically suicide, it's not something that just springs up from some... It can. For example, if someone's gone through something that's really tragic, like, a parent's just passed away in a car crash or something, that could then suddenly, of course, get you in that mindset where you think, I can't carry on living.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, more often, it's a build-up, a long-term build-up of a lot of stress, anxiety, depression. They're all kind of just working together in this vicious cycle, just beating you down all day. And when you're in that maze, it feels almost impossible to find the way out, to put it like that. But how do I put it? That maze still has an exit. It's just finding it. Do you know what I mean? that there's still a way. It feels impossible, and it feels like you're never going to feel any better.
And you are capable of such amazing things when you put your mind to it, and you're capable of such amazing growth.
Yeah.
I mean, again, not to make it about me, but I guess the podcast is about both of us. But like, how far I've come in the last year with my own goals and my own life and stuff is, you know, moving out and buying a car, and again, the charity walk. You know, you're capable of such amazing things. So just hang in there, and you don't know what you're capable of. And you don't know what you're going to be capable of in a year's time.
The thing is, if you allow your brain to convince yourself that you are depressed, that you are worthless, that you are a loser, this, that, the other, then you're feeding. You're feeding.
But that is also easier than done. It's very
no, absolutely.
It's very
I don't want to suggest like it's you know, it takes a lot. Like, you know, there's
it's difficult to have a positive mindset.
Why do you think that there are, you know, cognitive behavioural therapists, counsellors, you know, psychiatrists, psychologists? Like, it's because it's not easy, and you need support, and that's the big thing that we're saying.
I guess it's also about putting, like, I use the word treats. It's about putting treats in place. So, like, for me, a big thing was I had a great anxiety about driving and buying a car, as you know. And for me, one of the things was, right, if I buy a car and I do that this month, then at the end of the month I'll treat myself with a trip to London for a Doc 2 trip. I mean, I didn't drive to London, but that was kind of like the treat at the end of the goal. And I think it's about putting, you've heard of like SMART goals.
Yeah.
It's about putting things in place that I guess not make it worthwhile, but something to look forward to. And it's baby steps. Make tiny goals, and don't expect to change your whole life overnight. Don't expect to change your whole mindset on things overnight. But if you can say to yourself, for example, instead of moping about and staying in bed feeling depressed until midday, try and get out of bed at 9 o'clock and go for a morning walk, and then treat yourself with, I don't know, watching a film in the evening. Do you know what I mean? It's like...
Well, I've done that. Like, I used to, I don't mind sharing, I used to literally go to bed at 6 in the morning, pretty much, sleep until about 4 or 5, get up, not eat, go out, drink heavy, and then the next day I'm hungover, so I can't stomach food. So then the next day, even though you know, before even drinking I've not eaten anything, and then the next day I've eaten nothing.
And
so my weight's gone
well.
down, money's gone down, and am I any happier? Am I any better? Temporarily, when I'm drinking, yeah, it feels great. But when that goes away, and that's the one thing I want to talk about very quickly, drugs and alcohol. That is what we naturally turn to, substances, don't we, to erase that pain that we're feeling, that stress, because that's the danger with these substances, is they give you that temporary euphoria, don't they? But once that goes, once that's gone, you're left with even more. It's emphasised your feelings of depression, anger, you know, regret, this, that, the other. So I think that's a big thing as well. My experience was never drugs, never anything, never recreational drugs or anything. It was always alcohol with me, is what I turned to. But of course, as we've said, I think we said I can't remember if I said in the previous podcast, but of course, as we know, depressant drug, depression, combine the two, times 10 depression, you're just going to feel it 10 times.
I mean, I would say as well, again, I don't know if this is quite connected to mental health. I suppose it kind of is in a way. Is that I mean, I guess everything's kind of connected to mental health in some regard. Is that it's okay to have a bit of time for yourself. Don't feel like, you know, you've been talking about nights out. Don't feel like you have to go on a night out to fit in, or to fear of missing out. You can just. I found a lot in the last month. I guess because our friend Charlie has been in Egypt for 3 weeks. I found that I've not been going out as much, whether it be a night out, whether it be just a night at the, even at the pub. And I find that because I've been staying at home reading a book and then going to bed early, I feel a lot more refreshed and a lot more, because you're not spending money, so you bank wise you feel a bit better.
Wasting money.
Yeah, you're not drinking loads of Fanta or whatever, which in my case, or alcohol if you do drink, which is bad. Can be bad for you long term. So I think it's okay to have, I mean, obviously, when you want to still go out and have fun.
It's about balance, isn't it?
But what I'm trying to say is I don't think there should be such a... Because I don't know about you, I feel like when our group goes out at night and you don't join them, you feel a bit left out. But I think fear of missing out is a real thing. But I don't think it should be. I think it should be okay to stay at home and just say, right, I'm sitting this one out. Yeah,
absolutely, I agree with that. I'd feel a sense of regret or something, or it's again, it links back to social media and that idea that we've got to compete, or we're missing out, or we're not as good.
Yeah, but there's been nights where I've gone out, or evenings where I've gone out, even just like to a bar in Manchester, you know, in the past where like I've thought like I've gone because I thought I would regret it if I didn't go.
Yeah.
But then I've been out on the night out and gone, actually, I mean, I kind of wish I'd stayed at home. Really, I've not really missed out on anything by coming. So I think it's just about spending, making time for yourself, doing things that make you happy. I think that's a big thing with mental health. Do things that make you happy. Whether, and again, I know it sounds pretty sad, but like in my perspective, whether that's just watching an episode of Doctor Who, get yourself into that positive mindset, get yourself feeling happy, and everything else kind of slots into place. I know it's probably and
we know
more work to it than that.
We know exactly, and we know, of course, that it's not. So, the hardest thing is when you're at the bottom and you feel so demotivated, and is consistency, is to do it consistently. Because if we compare it analogically, say for example like the gym, you're not going to gain those big muscles from one session. It takes a lot, and it takes a lot of hard work and dedication. But in time, slowly but surely, you will find you say you're feeling less depressed, you're feeling more motivated. You've got more things. You want to perhaps join a club now, or you want to explore this new place or this new job, or whatever it is. You will start to feel more positive. Your outlook's more positive. You want to do things. You want to meet people. You want to, engage more.
But I guess as well, we live in such a culture that like really glorifies going out and glorifies drinking.
It does.
And I think it's okay not to.
Well, I mean, I've been clubbing bars for a long time now, and some honestly, it's so fake. It really is. The people that you perhaps meet, you've got no connection to them. You've got no,
I think it's not. Well, I think, and I know that I don't drink.
It's not good.
I know that I don't drink, but I think there's more negatives than positives that come out from a night out.
Oh, 100%.
Because the next day, like you said, you feel so tired. You feel
a lot of times as well. Yeah, with alcohol or drugs, it's regret in the morning. You're just thinking, oh God, what the hell have I done, or what have I said, or it's not. It's glorified so much, and it's considered humorous and that to reflect on what you've done and this, that, the other. But if you think about it, really, it's quite idiotic. I'm not trying to sound like like a killjoy or anything, but I've done it for a long time, and honestly, so much of it is, it's great to go out, have a few drinks, and have a dance to the music and that, but it's like people are always trying to one up each other. It's always got to be who can do the most drugs, or who can chat to the most girls or guys or whatever, or this, that,
and I think that there's a for some people, I'm not saying it's the same for everyone, but I think for some people, going on a night out is to hide yourself or blind yourself from the things you need to deal with. I know a lot of people drink or do drugs to distract themselves from the real troubles in their life.
Well, mental health around
but that can't be a good thing.
Yeah, mental health around nightlife will be huge. Like, you think of like a lot of people go out, don't they? Because they're trying to. Got to be careful how I say this. Like rebound in a sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they're trying to replace someone or this, that, the other, or. But like I say, it's like anything else. It's a temporary solution, really. You're not battling the issue that's underlying your depression and that. You're just kind of you're just kind of giving it an excuse to push it to the side. Yeah. But once that hangover fades, you're back in the same position. You probably got a lot less money. and
you feel groggy, and
there's just nothing good to it. Physically, you're just making yourself feel worse, and everything that's going on emotionally is still going to be present, or worse, to be honest. So I think if you're going through bad mental health, then drinking drugs, it's not it's not to say you can't do it in the future. Could be only a month away, but give yourself that time to you know what I mean, to
take care of yourself,
to focus your body and your mind. 100%. That's another piece of advice I'd give to young viewers, especially, not perhaps our older audience, our more mature audience.
So should we wrap this up and go over live to it's not live, it's in a few hours' time, to Future Pete, who'll be talking to Brendan. Have you got anything else to say, or is that kind of happy?
Always a pleasure. That's all I've got to say. Thank you again for me joining, and
we'll be here next week, I assume, with something. We're still not quite sure based on which guests we're going to get, but we'll probably either do school, which will hopefully be a little bit more positive than the last two we've done, or we'll do Fears, which is probably on the same wavelength, not very positive. But hopefully there's some positivity in everything we talk about, and the advice we give, and there's positives to everything, I guess.
Absolutely, there will be more upbeat,
more cheery.
Yeah, in the future.
But yeah, thanks for listening. Let's go over to the second half of this podcast. Well, hello everybody. We're joined today by our first ever guest on the podcast, which is Brendan. So let's let them introduce themselves and why they're here today.
Yeah, I'm Brendan. I'm 21. I'm a nursing assistant for Greater Manchester Mental Health.
Cool. So what? And I guess this next hour or so is going to be. There's certain things we can't talk about, I guess, because of privacy. But what can you tell us about the job and how did you get started with that job?
So I work at the Edenfield Centre in Prestwich. I work in adult forensics, which is obviously mental health in an adult setting, obviously. And I work medium secure wards. So the male acute wards I work on is male acute in that sense, in a medical sense, means an illness which comes on rapidly or can change rapidly. So obviously acute, you think, a small angle or whatever. Acute means, in a sense, you can't pinpoint it because it could happen at any minute. So I work on a ward of 13 patients out of 15. A lot of them have come from, say, hospital orders and prison transfers. But a lot of people who have committed crimes whilst very, very unwell. Yeah. And obviously working in this setting is extremely stressful. But I also absolutely love my job.
Very passionate about it.
I'm passionate about it, yeah. It's a fantastic sort of journey to just come in and like work with people who genuinely you can see the sort of level they're operating on. They live in a different world sometimes, but you also get to see the side of paranoid schizophrenia, psychosis, which people don't see, and it massively helps break stigmas, I believe, because you actually get to know these people as people, regardless of what they've done. Yeah.
So what? And again, I've got to be very sensitive. But what is a typical day for you in that job?
A typical day is just short staffing, lots of stress. Very rarely being able to take your break. Obviously, you do get a choice, but sometimes it's sort of, well, if I take my break, other people won't be able to get their break, or everyone's going to be short-staffed on the ward, so it's going to be more stress. So I often, a lot of times, be like, right, I don't need a break, a lot of times. Especially on an 8-hour shift, I don't take a break on an 8-hour, and I sometimes do on a 12-hour. But a typical day is come in, I usually take the security keys, so I'll be the security nurse. That means I do 15-minute checks throughout the whole 6 to 8 hours I'm the security nurse. I have my radio, so I just basically tend to, general hospital administrating things, so reception might say, can Dovedale security nurse come to reception, so I'll go up, pick up a meds bag or whatever, bring it back. I'll do 15-minute checks on every patient, make sure they're alive. I also then handle security items like razors, the cutlery, make sure they're all in.
Do you have to confiscate things as well?
Yeah, well, it's complicated. It's like, if we know a patient's got something, obviously then we have to do a room search, but we can't put our hands on to take it off them unless genuinely we can generally get the approval to do it. And also if it's dead serious, like, there will be patients who have things on them that we know they have, but we can't necessarily take them off them. But as long as they can't cause massive damage to themselves or others, we can just like hope they would give it in, but they won't. But it completely depends on what they have. And we do know patients like get stuff in, obviously, whether it's cigarettes, drugs, whatever. So if they have drugs, we can do a room search. If we find it, we can take it. But if they have it on them, we can't go on to them like that.
Yeah, I guess you got to go through a lot of like rules and regulations.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
to do that. So, if I was to talk to you about, if you're happy for me to, about your own experiences with your mental health, and I guess that's what dovetailed into you getting the job, I guess, because you were so passionate about it. So we talked a little bit about this before we started recording, but what are your own mental health experiences, and how do you view them now, I guess?
So I've always, like, as I say, I've been struggling with mental health since I was like 11. As I said, like anxiety, like really bad chronic anxiety when I was 11 and 11 to 13, I was in therapy, year 7 and 8 was a very hard time for me. I missed a lot of those school years. I don't know, obviously looking back at it now, as I said before, I'm not quite too sure what I was scared about as an 11-year-old. All I know is that it was absolutely real and absolutely full of fear, and absolutely having such a detrimental effect on how I was then like creating myself as a new high school kid. Yeah. And it always stuck with me because that sort of stigma around suffering did stick with me all the way.
Was that trying to impress other people though?
Well, exactly. Starting high school for me was like a big thing. So obviously, as it is for anyone, it was like, oh God, it's like this is big boy school. That's how it was kind of like portrayed in my life, and it did have an effect on me there. And obviously, it was fine for a few years. Went through a few bad relationships, and now I'm getting tested for bipolar disorder or ADHD. It's one of the two. It's definitely one of the two. And it's been an absolute fascinating journey, which has led to me through my own hell to get a job where I'm trying to help other people with the mental health issues.
Yeah. Are there any? I don't really know which way you want to take this. We kind of got a bit all over the place here with your own experiences and your job. But is there any, success stories that you can? Again, I know you can't name names, but any success stories from your time working your job that you're
so
proud of?
When you say success, do you mean of like the people I look after?
Yeah,
yeah.
So
I think the best thing for me to see is, so obviously I have my ward which I work on, but obviously there will also be times where you do get occasionally sent to a different ward to maybe cover an observation for 2 hours or fill in a gap. So you will occasionally get sent to a different ward. And obviously, after working in a hospital for such a time, you do get to know all the patients on different wards. So obviously, I have a very good professional relationship with the patients I work with on my ward. But I also know a lot of other patients around the hospital who I will see about when I'm taking them to groups, or when I'm nipping onto another ward to grab something or speak to someone, or when I'm just walking through the hospital. You get to know these people, and they'll be like, they'll wave to you. I mean, you have a chat with me like, oh, how long have you been on this ward now, mate? Oh, you moved up. You know, it's nice to see people move up through the treatment ward. So
it's quite a nice community feel to it.
It is. So like, obviously, the male acutes is where they usually get sent in first from. Wherever they've come from, whether it be prison, they've just been arrested, you know, it depends on how they've, you know, how it is. Obviously, they're assessed, sent to an adult forensics ward, and then they progress through to treatments, to pre-discharge, to then to community. And I think working on my ward, because it's like the sort of start of your journey in as being a section patient, you know, you don't get people necessarily discharged straight away out into the outer world. Obviously, they spend a lot of time on the ward, then they move up to a different ward. See how the mental health goes. A lot of time they could get sent back down to my ward, and it's a journey, you know, it's steps. And I've seen a few patients now from my ward say, just get discharged back to prison. Now, lots of people, you know, people think, well, they're only going back to prison, you know, they're going to be spending their life still incarcerated. But to me, they beat their mental health issues, they beat the section inside of
they're still safe with themselves.
They're still safe with themselves. They now understand why they committed the crime they've done, or done what they've done, and now they can, you know, now they've moved back to kind of serve the rest of their time and then better themselves as people. And, you know, I've seen one or two, you know, people I've worked with go through that, and they, you know, they understand why they've done what they've done, and that they have to go serve the rest of this time, and they regret everything, and they hope to stay on the medication, carry on therapies, and generally just get a hold of life. And it is nice to see. And other wards where you see a patient you've seen about, and they're now on a treatment ward or they're higher up, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm getting out soon." You go, "Fantastic, mate. Well done." You know, it's really nice to see, because obviously, you know, these people have struggled.
And I guess they deserve, you know, I guess regardless of what they've done, they deserve a chance to get to that stage of.
They deserve, exactly. Like, you know, at the end of the day, we're all people. So, regardless of the people I do work with or what they've done or, you know, how much they struggle, they're still human beings, and they're still massively, you know.
You still got to do your job, haven't you?
We all do things like, regardless, in the heat of passion of a, you know, as I said before, like when emotions are so heightened, we all do things where we wake up the next morning thinking, why did I do that? Why, what was my thinking behind that? Why did I bother doing that? Now I look like an idiot. Now I feel like stupid, blah, blah. And it's, you know, obviously it's different depending on the severity of whatever action it is. Obviously, you know, it's quite different, but we all are creatures of emotion, as I said, and seeing people sort of progress and understanding why they've done what they've done, or what they're going through, beating, say, the voices they're hearing, or the things they're hallucinating, or these sort of uncontrollable sort of, these things which to them feel alien or feels like it's another person inside. You know, it's fascinating to see how the actual depths of how bad mental health can be, and how much it can take out of a human being.
Does that cover, like, you know, the ward that you work on? Does it cover all ages, or is it just?
Yeah. So, like, as I say, like, you know, I'm only 21. A lot of people I work with are massive older. I mean, I think there's only one person on that ward who's younger than me, and it completely depends on their assessment of.
It's both or all genders.
No, it's just males.
Just males.
So I'm male acute. So yeah, male and females don't mix in the.
But
hospital.
do they have females at all in the?
Yeah, so there's a female section of hospital, female wards, and yeah, so they don't mix. But there's a children's unit which is up at the top, and then you've got the sort of Edenfield Centre which is down at the bottom, and then you've got your male wards and your female wards. Yeah.
Okay. So, you know, for people, I guess our age, who I guess will probably primarily be the people that listen to this, if anybody listens to this, what would you say is the most prominent mental health issue that people have, if you can answer? Because me and Harry were talking about this earlier in the podcast, and I said I'd probably refer it to you because we weren't sure.
I feel like the most common one I've seen, just in general, is paranoid schizophrenia.
Really?
In the hospital, in a sense. Obviously, you know, if you ask people on the outside world, it's probably depression or anxiety.
Yeah.
But paranoid schizophrenia is a massive sort of thing. But there's a lot of stigma around paranoid schizophrenia. I think a lot of people hear, oh, he's a paranoid or she's paranoid schizophrenic. You think mass murderer or absolutely crazy, going to batter you to pieces. Whereas it's simply not the case. Paranoid schizophrenia is it's like an umbrella term for so many symptoms and how it affects people. The lines are blurred. There's a lot of synchronicity. You know, these people genuinely cannot help how they're thinking. When everything in your head is matching up to something, and your emotions in your head is telling you that this is real, this is not, this person's just said that, you know, when you're hallucinating or you're auditory hallucinating, you're going to believe that's going to happen, like, if you're in this thing. So not every paranoid schizophrenic is, you know, is a murderer or has done something terrible. It's a massive mental illness. It's
is that like, you know, hearing voices and that sort of thing?
It's a part of it, but not every schizophrenic hears voices.
Yeah.
It's a completely, like, fascinating sort of illness, and it's so sort of complex because it affects every single patient differently. As I said before, we all suffer with, say, depressive symptoms, anxious symptoms, but the actual content of why we're suffering is completely different. It's unique to our own experience. So they have their own lives and what they've been through, and even though they're on a ward with other people who suffer with the same thing, although they have similar symptoms, they're all completely different. It really is complicated.
You know, for someone who's obviously suffered from mental health issues in the past, what have you found have been the best things to help?
Best things to help?
Would you say that, because me and Harry were saying before that we think that exercise can be a great one. You know, I mean, I guess just generally doing things that make you happy, whether that's going out with mates or whatever, can be a good one.
Exactly. I massively believe that the key to kind of getting through your mental health, first of all, is obviously to talk about it. I know everyone says this. It's a massive, you know, drive for many mental health charities. You know, open up, talk. You know, Mind. You know, the Samaritans. Have someone. I know it's hard to, especially in the midst of a massive mental health battle, it's hard to have someone to trust or who you think you can tell, but a lot of this stuff is always in our head. Like, we always assume that other people are going to hear this and be like, what the fuck? You know,
you're worried that
like,
people are going to judge you, I guess.
They're going to judge it, and that's the massive part of it. But, you know, I feel like if you actually start to find some sort of way of getting it out, you then become more comfortable telling people. So for me, lyrics, like music, or like books I read, you know, posting these.
Your Instagram's a goldmine, isn't it?
Yeah, I like my philosophy, I like my music. You know, I feel like lyrics was how I started getting it out before I was confident enough to talk to people. Like, you know, I know it sounds stupid, but I was like sort of living my life vicariously through my Instagram story, which is, I think, something I was very hyper aware of and also embarrassed about. But it also massively helped me to then be like, actually, I know I'm struggling with this. I'm evidently struggling with this. People can see that. Why don't I actually just confide in someone? And then slowly but surely I started telling people what happened. And then, you know, for years and years, it started to become a thing where the first thing I always do is make sure somebody knows about what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Or at least that I understand it. And I will spend ages in my own room just trying to think about what's actually killing me inside right now, what's making me cry, what's making me upset, what's making me angry, you know. As long as I understand that, then I can tell someone about it and be like, look, I'm going through this at the minute.
Do you feel like you do understand it?
Some days I do, sometimes I don't. I think each day is, as I say, each day with a mental health issue is a complete new battle, because it's you know, it's an illness. You know, you wouldn't look at someone with a broken arm and be like, oh, you know, they're weak for having a broken arm, they're stupid for being, you know, physically unwell. You know, I see, especially working in a hospital, mental health hospital, I see mental health just the same as general health. It's an illness. It doesn't matter whether you can see it or not. You can't
nuance as well, different.
Exactly. You can't see
extremes to it.
When someone's got the flu, you can see they've got like a runny nose, but you can't actually see what the illness is doing inside the body.
Yeah.
Same with mental health. You can see people cry, people, you know, with scars. You can see them act erratically, but you don't know what's going on inside. Regardless, that person is unwell, and people need to understand that. You know, everybody suffers in some way, shape, or form, and I feel like talking to people, I mean, also having hobbies, like, or having an outlet. I think art is a massive part of my life. Like, you know, artistry, like, you know, I like my philosophy books, like my existentialism, poetry, prose, music. As you say for yourself, you know, doing stuff like this, or you know, making a project, you know, recording something, filmmaking, you know, it
watching Doctor Who.
Well, it's expression, isn't it? And if you can relate to something, you instantly feel better. That's why I got into like artists like Morrissey, or there's the Smiths, or, you know, writers like Charles Bukowski or Franz Kafka or Albert Camus. Like, it's how you get into them, because you associate something in yourselves with that person, and it becomes a lot easier to then express it because you feel understood. Whether you feel understood or whether you feel like they understand you, there is some sort of understanding there.
Yeah, like you say, I guess it's being able to relate to them.
You can ask me anything, mate. You can ask anything you want. I'll try and answer.
Have you got any questions for me?
Okay. Okay, here's a question. Yeah. Through your own mental health struggles, so obviously we had a talk beforehand, and you know, we kind of got a general sort of foundation of what we've both been through, and, you know, kind of getting an understanding. What would you say was your first stepping point in understanding your own mental health? What was the first kind of thing that happened to you, or first thing you thought that actually made you realise, actually, there is something I'm suffering with here, and I need to kind of get that out. I need to work on it.
In terms of what was the first experience I had that was, you know, could lead to mental health?
Which could lead to mental health. Like, what was the first thing where, after, say, that thing happened, did you do something or go through something or feel something or think something that made you realise, actually, I've actually been affected by this. This is actually something a lot deeper than just being upset. Yeah,
I guess, because me and Harry were talking about this morning, I guess mental health is, I think we've spoken about it as well, mental health is something that's more long-standing than just a bad day, isn't it? It's something that's more that either lasts longer or lasts a few months, or I guess something that has a more clear, or can have a more clear starting point. I think for me, the first time I ever would say that I felt any sort of mental health issue would be when my grandma died. I mean, we talked a little bit about this on the grief one quite a lot.
Yeah.
But I think that was the first time that I ever really struggled. I mean, I think for something like, and I don't know whether you agree with this necessarily, but a mental health and illness is something that really affects you day to day, and something that, I'm not going to say it takes over your mind, but something that you struggle to stop thinking about. Well, yeah. If it's something that's...
No, I completely agree, because as I said, like, the way I believe, or the way I've actually interpreted my own, like, just sort of the way I act, is that we are creatures of emotion, as I said. Yeah. How we act and how we think and how we even perceive ourselves and how others perceive us completely depends on how we're thinking in our head. As I said, I could be in the pub sat there having a few like drinks and laughing and joking, but in my head I'm thinking 20,000 different things, and I'm battling just even letting that out in a sense. So I'm trying to act like that, but in my head I'm thinking everybody knows I'm thinking this. Everybody know, obviously not paranoid, but I mean everyone can tell I'm upset about something. Everyone can tell this, so people are going to think you're upset because you're thinking that, because then you will start to overthink it. Whereas it's just so complicated. As I say, when the
more negative your mindset is, the more negative
you'll perceive. But also, when you are sad, you're going to perceive things completely differently. Like, so say you've got 4 days, right? One day you walk into the pub, you're going to do the same thing every day. You're going to walk to the pub, you're going to have a drink with your mates. If you're sad, you're walking up to the pub, you're dreading it. You're thinking, I can't be bothered with this. I don't know how I'm going to act. I don't know this. So you've got all these thoughts already. You're going to have a face on. You're going to be really upset. You're going to have to go in. It's going to take so much courage to go in. And you're going to sit there. You're probably going to be very quiet. People are going to notice that. Second day you go up, you're dead happy. You're excited to go in. You spend all day there. You're the life of the party. You're angry. You go up. You don't really want to be there. You're dead quiet. Or, you're just kind of anxious about something. So you're really scared. You don't even go in. Like, all these different sort of emotions completely affect how our day goes and how we even perceive the actual actions we're doing. So how can anyone say that, mental health can't be that personal, or mental health is embarrassing? Because we all live in our heads. We have nowhere else to go. We will always be you. Yeah. You will always be yourself, whether you like it or not. You are always.
You'll never escape your internal monologue.
You're never going to be able to escape. So that's why you've got to. It's a metaphorical argument, isn't it? You've got to fight yourself constantly, and you've just got to accept that.
It's like you said, people are always having their own conversations. Even now,
I'm already thinking 20 different things. Yeah. Exactly. It's because, well, first of all, we're having our voices recorded. We're, people are going to listen to this. People are going to. So already we're thinking, what are people going to think about this? What people, But that doesn't matter in the end, because at the end of the day, the aim behind the podcast is just to talk about mental health, and that's that. The very thing we're worrying about is the very thing we're promoting.
And I guess that we also don't really know each other that well. We have spoken a little bit in.
Exactly, like, we see each other about the pub and stuff, and that, it's...
We didn't really introduce... I guess we didn't really talk about how we knew each other, but, we kind of know each other through our local, don't we?
Yeah, for our local, I mean, as I say, most people meet through those sort of instances, and, I think also having each other on Instagram, like, also, seeing your projects you make, and also, when you're doing the Mind Marathon, well, you've already done it, sorry, but, fantastic. You're very well done for that. And that's something which I saw, and obviously with how passionate I am about mental health, obviously I'm doing a Samaritans fundraising at the minute.
Yeah. So what is a Samaritans fundraiser?
Just at the minute, like, I'm not as confident as you are in like getting it out there. I've raised like 150 quid.
Still good though.
It's like 30 sit-ups a day. It's not much, but it's something I wanted to do, because I thought, what, if I can do this, because I'm quite lazy, because I'm quite tired all the time, because I work all the time, I'm always out, so I never have time to actually sit down and do any exercise. But if I can do that, I can do anything. So I've only raised 150 quid. That's 150 quid more than the charity would have had if I hadn't done it.
Yeah, and it can go a long way, can't it? 150 quid.
As I get more confident with fundraising and stuff, I can do it again and again, because fundraising is something you can always do. Charities always need that support, and it's up to us as human beings to help other human beings.
Yeah.
And that's my general perception of that, because we're all in this, as Oscar Wilde says, we're all in the gutter, but some of us are facing the stars. We're all together in this shit. We're all together in this hell, and there was nothing more beautiful than helping another soul, in my opinion. I don't know, it's just how I perceive. I think massively being there for other people, and also, as I said, so I saw you doing that, so I thought, let's just talk to them about it. Say, I've seen you do this, I've seen you do that stuff, and that's how we're here now. Just to sort of getting over anxiety. See, everything boils down to anxiety, or a perception of your own thoughts, and then things come from it, or things don't come from it.
And I guess that's the thing as well. I don't know if you find this necessarily when you're in the pub, because I guess you're a lot more ingrained in the pub, because you worked there.
I worked there. I did work there for about 6 months, and I've worked there occasionally if I have days off or whatever. Yeah. Or if they need me.
I guess what I was going to say was, I find it difficult sometimes, even if I know you quite well. Like, even if we have this conversation now,
of course,
I could find it difficult coming up to you tomorrow in the pub.
Exactly.
Because it's weird though, because like I know who you are, and we've had this hour-long conversation in my own car, but being in a busy pub or being, you know, with people again we don't really know that well. It can be a bit kind of discombobulating.
So yeah, this is the thing. Like obviously, a lot of the thing I think about is obviously, as I said before, because we're always all in our head. One thing I'm always thinking about is how are people looking at me right now. So say if I'm sat at the bar, I'll be talking to you, I'll be talking to a few people I know in there, but I'm very well aware that behind me are people I don't know. Big groups of people sat in different chairs, and they can hear what I'm saying.
Well, this is what we said about recording this podcast. We're doing it in the car because, well, one of the reasons was I didn't want to do it in the pub in case the person on the next table are hearing
exactly hearing what we're saying.
Yeah,
exactly,
yeah.
and that person probably hearing it thinking, oh, well, that sounds cool, or probably thinking, oh, what are they talking about? We're probably thinking they're judging us at this.
Yeah,
and that's the thing. So when I'm sat at the bar or whatever, I'm talking to people, I'm thinking I'm very well aware that people probably listen to me. Maybe they're judging me. Maybe they're looking at what I'm wearing. I like to dress a bit differently sometimes. I'm quite loud. I'm very interest based as a person. I'm always talking about one thing or the other.
Quite extrovert.
In a sense, yeah. I'd say I'm an extroverted introvert, to be honest. So yeah, I'm always thinking, oh, that person behind me is probably listening to me and judging me, so I have to be quiet. So then I'll change how I'm acting. I'm not maybe upset because I'm changing how I'm acting, but then I'm also it's all about overthinking. It's a horrible thing to go through. But if I was to...
And I guess overthinking is one of those things where it just gets deeper and deeper.
It does.
Because the more you overthink, the more you...
Snowballing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is what it is. Like, you know, I massively agree with the idea that our problems are made worse by our own thoughts. You know, Khalil Gibran said our anxiety comes from not knowing the future, but from wanting to control it.
Yeah.
Like, we all want to be able to control things because we're worried about it, because we want things to go a certain way, and we have to accept that life just isn't that. It just isn't that way. Life is just completely an absolute...
I think this is one of the things that I realised recently, though, is that, like, I think I went through... Because I was quite lucky, I guess, in you know, my own life, is that I didn't really... Nothing negative really ever happened to me until I was about 18, 19,
exactly.
20. You know, my grandma died when I was 19, and I guess until that point there was nothing that was massively negative going on. I've always had food on the table. You know, nobody in my close family's died. You know, I'd always had quite a good life. And I guess one of my recent revelations, I guess within the last year, has been that not everything is going to go the way you want it to go.
No.
And that's a fact of life. You know, there's going to be days or weeks or months where things aren't going to go well.
Exactly.
You know, you're not always going to get that amazing job you want. You're not always going to get into that relationship with that girl you like. You know, things aren't always going to go to plan.
To me, everything is what I call the long run. And obviously, because we live in the present, as I said, right now we are ourselves. We are thinking what we think. We have our own issues, we have our own families. We also have our own desires, our own hatreds, all this stuff. And as I said before, in a year's time, this situation could be completely different. Like, although you still have the same worries, it's going to be new people. It's going to be a new scenario.
Yeah.
When you think about the long run, you need to think that I'm not going to achieve anything in a year. You're going to achieve something, but in the long picture, you're not going to achieve anything. Like, take writers, for example. You take some authors, years and years and years of just constantly going through the same shit every day to finally get success. Like, say, my favourite author, very controversial, but Charles Bukowski, and obviously I'll explain to people that he has some very sort of like sexist overtones and sort of...
I'm not familiar. Is he an older writer?
He was a German-American writer, born in 1920, and he's known as the godfather of dirty realism. Now, I adored his book. So he's an alcoholic. Like, this man, like, all his stuff, all his life revolved around drinking and women. Also, his troubles with women. And I feel like when I was reading his books, obviously I don't agree with the bad stuff he says or the stuff he kind of... Because obviously nowadays it's different. He was born in 1920. You know, things were different in America back then, especially in his life. But the way he just spoke about life and about life being shit and about, like, just getting through it, it fascinated. And that's how I got into it, you know. He, for years and years and years, he writes about this. If you read any of his novels, his books of poetry and prose, or his reflections, he says, I spent years sleeping on a park bench. I spent nights without food every night. Yeah, I still kept writing. I still kept going through it. I picked up the pen or picked up the typewriter and I carried on.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, you can go weeks without food. You cannot see another human being for days. You could sit in a dark room for ages doing nothing. But he still then became one of the most famous, in my opinion, and one of the most influential American writers of the 20th century. Yeah. And that's why I got into him, because I spent a lot of time alone. I spent a lot of time drinking. So I thought, wait, actually.
So it's about art. You see stuff in what people
you see what
saying.
it is. You attach yourself to something you're going through. Hence why people do like, say, going to a bookstore and buying a few books and reading them, or buying records, or playing guitar, or making a film, recording a podcast, or even going to the pub and doing a fucking quiz or something. Like, you're doing something which you're using your mind for, and it's rather a distraction, or it's the complete opposite. You're actually focusing so heavily on it because you want to understand yourself.
Yeah.
So, yeah, as I say, like, the long run, people need to, in my opinion, realise that you're going through hell right now, and you will go through hell again. There is no lie in that. But you also be happy at one point. But you won't always be happy. Like, you need to think about in 10 years' time where you're going to be. And this isn't easy. Like, and I still struggle with it, but I always say to myself, okay, right now, I'm just a nursing assistant. I want to do my mental health nursing next year. It's going to be 3 years of, in my opinion, hard work. And I think, I can't do that. But then I think, actually, well, look what I've been through now. And realistically, if it's only anxiety making me thinking that, realistically, I can be confident of my own abilities to be able to do this.
I think that's really interesting what you just said there, because that's almost like, I guess we all go through times in our life when we felt anxiety about stuff, or I'm not good enough for this, or I can't do this, but it goes back to you doing your SATs or whatever.
Exactly.
And you passed that, you did your GCSEs, you did that, and you've got through all these things that you thought were impossible hurdles in life, and now you don't even think twice about them.
You've just got to look back for your life. Like, I feel like if you don't reflect on yourself or on your day or what you've been through, frequently, you're going to lose touch with yourself. So I constantly think about what I've been through. I constantly think about what my worries were when I was 14, when I was 12, when I was 16. So when I was 14, my worries were, does this girl who I have a crush on like me? Am I going to go and play Xbox with my mates tonight? Or what am I going to have for dinner? That's what my worries were, Or is it going to piss it down when I'm walking home? Nowadays, I think differently. I think I'm 21 now. I'm thinking, am I doing a good enough job at work? Do people like me? Am I successful enough? Am I actually genuinely capable of doing all the things I want to do, or am I just an absolute failure who's putting it all on? Although that's not true. It's anxiety. I massively feel as though anxiety is one of the biggest and most sort of destructive sort of mindsets, and everybody's anxiety, or most people do, and I think that's a massive driving force as to why people aren't as confident as they want to be, especially with social media also. I think that's had a massive effect.
That's one of the things we talked about this morning, actually, was
social media.
Was people comparing themselves to other people on social media, and I guess not feeling like they're going to be judged by others.
Yeah, absolutely. As I said, that's one massive part of my mental health, is what other people are viewing me as. Not of how I look necessarily. Sometimes it is how I look, but are people going to look at what words I'm using? Or are people actually thinking about what I'm wearing right now? People thinking, why is he acting like this? Why is he looking over there? Why is he even looking at me? Why is he speaking to me? Constantly this whole thing. But when you realistically think about it, right, you sat there with a bunch of people, and I'm thinking all these things, but then you've got to put yourself in their shoes and think, why, this person's not going to be sat there staring at me thinking all these things, because why would they be doing?
Even if they do, they'll probably, within an hour of them going home, will have forgotten that you even exist.
Exactly, because we all look at people and think, oh, that person's a fucking idiot, or that person's cool, or this person's this person's that, and it's useless. It's just useless thoughts. It's thought garbage, essentially. It's just, we spend all our lives thinking, so there's going to be times where the stuff we are thinking really doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, that's true. How do you feel that, and again, I'm not sure if this is too sensitive.
No, not at all. Go ahead.
If it's alright, but, how do you feel having mental health issues can affect a relationship? Because obviously you're in a relationship.
Yeah.
Is that something that you feel is...
Being in a relationship and having something like love, like, in your life, love is one of the best and worst things I've ever had to go through. And love, as cringe as it's, love is a dog from hell. Love is genuinely something so, it's a constant battle. And as I said, I think there's always something so absolutely beautiful about caring about a person, about having someone you lay in bed with and you're hugging them, you're talking, you just look at each other smiling, or even arguing with them. There's something beautiful about being with another person. And having mental health issues, especially going through a lot of, a tumultuous past with relationships myself,
someone to open up to, isn't it?
Exactly. It's someone to open up to, but it's someone to grow with. It's someone to absolutely just be like, you know what, I've just done a 14-hour shift at work. I can go home, I can sit, I can have a drink with my girlfriend, or I can watch something, or I can listen to how her day's gone. It's about being there for that other person. But with mental health issues, for me, it's a constant battle of, am I good enough? Is this person happy with me? Am I actually doing them any good? Is this person truthful about how they say about me? It's a constant battle. I say also of anxiety and overthinking, but also the past. And trauma, to me, trauma is when the soul is hurt, not the brain. Like, your soul, I'm a big believer in having a soul. I don't believe in an afterlife. I'm not necessarily too spiritual, but so I say, like, trauma is when your soul is damaged, when, obviously your brain is, obviously, psychologically speaking, it's when your brain is hurt. But to me, it's when you feel that in your heart, you feel that in your core of a person, that there's something wrong with you, or you've been through this, and then every single thing you go through then becomes related to that, or at least mine does. It always links back to something I went through. And I'm thinking, it's because of this I went through this, and now I'm thinking this way. But I think that having a relationship with someone who understands you as a person is probably one of the best ways to heal yourself. You can't put everything on that person, but if that person's willing to be there for you, you be there, willing to be there for them, and you work together, and it's absolutely just, it's just nice, isn't it? it's a massive battle. And one day I'm so happy I'm in love, and other days I'm like, I'm fucking hating it. But not I'm hating it because of that person, but it's like because of how I'm perceiving it myself. Because it affects on me because I overthink it too much. But at the end of the day, I just sit back and I think, at least I had that person, you know. And I think it's a massive escape. I think love is a form of art, and I think two people being united together in this, whether they've known each other for ages, whether they've just met, people hit it off, or things grow over time. Me and Kelly started out as friends, and now we're together, and it's just wonderful, isn't it? It's something you can't expect to happen. So when you're being friends with someone, in that time, you're probably not thinking you're ever going to be together. 6 months later, now look at it, you're a completely different situation.
Well, I guess that's what you said before, is you don't know what's around the corner.
You don't, and you never will. Like, and this is why the idea of past and future is so stupid to me sometimes, because I'm a person who lives in the past. They say the depressive brain lives in the past, the narcissistic brain lives in the future. So, realistically, you only live in the present. The past has happened, doesn't really exist anymore, and the future's not guaranteed.
Like you said before, there's no way you can change it.
There's no way you can change it. As I said, what I said about regret being such a useless emotion or even feeling. But realistically, the future will hold whatever it will hold, and the past is hold whatever. Right now, what matters is what we are doing right now, what we are doing in this very instant, where we're going to go after this, what we're thinking, what we're doing. And in 10 years' time, you cannot tell yourself or even convince yourself that you know where you're going to be. Yeah. Because the worries you have now will not mean anything in 10 years. And that's the hardest thing to kind of get by.
And I guess as well, like, I know it is possible, it's not impossible that I could be homeless next week, but chance of it happening or something like that, because everything we've ever done in life, I don't know about you, but everything I've ever done in life has always worked out, pretty much. So I think we spend so much time worrying about what if, but most of the time things do work out.
I also feel like, like as I say, if that does happen, you will get through it somehow. You will get through it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be nice. It's not going to be easy. In no sense. Say if you go through anything. Say if you were to go through, get with someone and break up. You were to lose a family member. You were to lose a friend. Someone was going to, someone says something horrible to you, which sticks on your mind.
I guess everything happens for a reason as well.
Everything does happen for a reason, and that's the best and worst thing about life.
If you go through a bad relationship, I guess that it can.
That's the thing. I don't believe in fate. I don't believe that anything we go through, anything we do really matters. I believe, as I say, once you die, you have died. So you must live some sort of fulfilled life. Viktor Frankl says the meaning of life is to give life meaning, and I believe that you have to give yourself meaning, because in the end, it's not an essay. It's not going to get marked. Other people can judge your life, but what do other people are? Because you can judge their life. There's no sort of authoritative body at the end.
Unless you believe in a God.
Unless you believe in a God. Now, I don't believe in religion personally. I mean, I've always been raised in a religious sort of, like, not necessarily a religious household, but been to religious schools all my life. I also know people. I have a good mate of mine. She's very religious, so it's interesting to hear how she thinks about this, about mental health and life and stuff. And it's just fascinating to all these other people. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. So you will somehow get through the hard times. You will somehow get through the good times. You're getting through everything. People say getting through is a negative thing, but you get through anything. You get through happiness. Because that's a lot to take in. Because whenever I'm happy, I think I'm not going to be happy in an hour. I know I'm going to overthink this. So then my happiness is ruined because I'm already thinking about it. If I was just to live in the moment more, if I could control my brain that way, life would be fantastic.
Yeah, you're all right. Talking about mental health and mental health charities, if someone is struggling with the mental health, what would be your advice?
It's a very good question. Obviously, my advice always is situational dependent. It depends on the person themselves, but the first thing I would try and do is to ask some questions. Like I did when you came in, you said, God, this is like therapy, because I was asking you questions. Show an interest in what they're going through. Ask questions, are you sad? Don't ask that. Obviously they're sad. Try and get in there and be like, would you want to tell me what's making you sad? Like, let's talk about this. Remember, things dwell on the brain, they mutate in a sense, and you feel it all the time, so you feel like everyone knows and everyone knows you're a mess or whatever. Not realistic. People don't know that. Sometimes strength is being curled up into a ball and crying. Sometimes strength is going out, going to a party when you feel like shit, or sometimes it's going to work and getting through the day.
That's really true though, because I would never have known that you had any mental health things going on. I don't know.
It's all about perception, isn't it? It's all about because in my head, although I'm very open about mental health, I'm also very promotive of it. I also do a lot of things which I shouldn't do, like such as hiding it occasionally or downplaying it a lot. But if someone's struggling and you've got someone who's struggling, my advice would always be ask them questions which you don't think they've been asked before. Make them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Also share common ground. Like, I think understanding is one of the most important parts of another person's mental health battle. If you can sit down and say,
relate to them,
trust me, I know what you're going through.
Yeah.
And you also have to be like, but what you're going through, that to you is the worst thing you're going through. Like, you can't compare yourself to someone else's mental health issues. You can't look at other people and go, or they're suffering worse than I am. So what? Like, not so what in a negative way, obviously. I mean, so what as in, right now, you're in your head. You will always be in your head, as I say. You will always feel your emotions. So how your head is how you are feeling. So someone could have just lost a family member. They're going to be super depressed. Someone could have just lost their job, but they're going to be super depressed. Or
but it's also about not comparing yourself. I guess.
Absolutely no comparison, unless it's a positive comparison. Yeah. So I say in work, like, you know, I've seen a lot of patients self-harm, or I've seen it, you know, people have a lot of scars. I have my own scars, and like I've shown quite a lot of patients on one-on-one chats where we spoke about mental health after they may have self-harmed that, look, I self-harmed, I have self-harmed, I understand why you've done it, like, don't be mad at yourself. Next time, just understand that me here as a staff member, I'm here to help you stop doing that. But you should not feel bad for doing it. I'd urge you to not do it, because obviously, you know, it can lead to, you know, say death, or, you know, it can be a very unhealthy way of dealing with things. But it's about having that mutual understanding. You've got to realise that we're all just people. There's nothing more, nothing less. No one is better than anyone else, and that is true. No one is any more stronger or any more weaker. At the end of the day, we're all human, and the brain is just unregulated. You really just got to get it into your own mind that someone else is struggling and they're going to act differently to you, but it doesn't mean they're weak. You know, so about being open, and it's just all about hearing them. Even if you just nod your head and listen, even if you don't even know what to say, even if you give them a hug, like, say,
just being there for someone, isn't it?
Exactly. Like, if someone's opening up to you and you're just not, you know, you're on your phone doing this, and you're like, sorry, I don't know what to say. That person's going to feel stupid for opening up. Of course you would, you know what I mean? It's like if you tell someone you love them and they don't say it back, you feel that awkwardness.
Yeah.
Whereas if that person, even if that person just says, I understand, and gives you a hug, a part of you feels listened to. So if that person can sit down and give you very therapeutic advice, fantastic. But realistically, not everyone's like that. Everyone else's mental health issues are unique to themselves. So sometimes, even though, say, even working mental health, having a million mental health chats, suffering my own mental health, talking to everyone I can about mental health, there's some people I won't be able to talk to, because sometimes I just don't know what to say. Sometimes someone's situation is so new to me, because it's so unique, that I have to take a step back and be like, you know what, actually, I don't have anything to say to you right now, but I understand this, I understand this, but you listen. It's about being heard.
Yeah. Kind of changing the conversation a little bit, and I don't know if this is something that you'd want to talk about, but I'm going to bring up anyway. Do you have anything, you know, what were your reactions to the panorama thing? Can we talk about that?
Yeah, I can say some things, like, obviously, I should
just say that the panorama was about the place that
I work in, and it covered, you know, failings of patient care and patient abuse, and
obviously, I'm guessing that wasn't the sector that you worked in. That wasn't.
No, my ward wasn't shown. Yeah. And as I say, like, we were all quite shocked when it came out, because, you know, a lot of patients in my ward said to me, I've never experienced anything like this in hospital, definitely not from this ward anyway. And when you actually see the footage,
and it's also not everyone. I gather that some people that work in there are,
we've then had, you know, staff were getting death threats.
Yeah.
You know, wards were being rang up by people saying how fucking dare, and it's like, but it's not all of us. Genuinely, in that hospital, right, what is shown is terrible, and I know everyone in that documentary, and I kind of sat there thinking, wow, like, I know this, but also at the same time, that is genuinely, 20 people of the hundreds that were there. The amount of people I see who come in, don't have their breaks, they're barely eating, they bring in extra stuff for the patients, they spend their own money on the patients, they do everything they can to make sure that patient day goes okay, or they do everything they can to make that ward runs. There are so many passionate people there who will not show in that documentary. It's been made to make good television, I believe. And
documentaries, I mean, I've made documentaries at university and college and stuff, and documentaries, you can manipulate them in such a way that you can, and I'm not saying that necessarily there wasn't stuff going on, because of course there was,
absolutely, yeah,
but I think you can,
absolutely. And the way I see it is
they're not showing the positives, are they?
I'm glad that, you know, things are now improving. The trust has gone into a lot of, like, emergency measures, and things are getting better. You know, the patients been listened to more, the funding's coming in, we're getting more staff, or we're trying to get more staff, you know, and I'm happy like this. So after the documentary, I thought, at least it's happened. I don't necessarily agree with how they've done it, and I also think there's a massive side they've ignored. I'm not on about what was shown. I'm on about more the fact that, okay, that is terrible. I'm glad I'm glad that's been sorted out, but also show the people who break their backs to kind of make sure this place runs. Like, I know so many nurses who genuinely, like, you know, these higher up people who genuinely are shattered when they come into work from the day beforehand.
Long shifts, aren't they, as well?
Yeah, like, you know, I do a lot of 12-hour shifts a week or whatever, and, you know, the other day I worked, you know, I've had 2 days off now, but last 2 days I've worked 9 days in a row. Like, you know, I did a 14-hour shift, did a few 12 hours, a few 8 hours here and there, you know, a bit of overtime. I worked at a pub also, but, you know, it's I put my soul into that job. I'm very passionate about what I do. I probably take it too seriously sometimes, but because in my head, after going through what I've been through, it became such a thing of where I'm actually helping other people now, and that's all that matters to me. It's quite childlike in a sense. I'm very obsessed with what I do because in my head, it's such a big thing. It's such a nice thing.
Are you kind of because I mean I know that I certainly am with things in life. Are you a kind of all or nothing kind of guy?
Definitely,
like cold turkey, and you have to, you know.
Yeah, unless the sun is burning in your gut, don't do it. Like unless you're going to put life and soul into something you're doing, there's no point in doing it. You can't. I could not go into work and be lazy or like not talk to a patient when they want to talk to me. I mean, sometimes I'll have to admit, like, you know, sometimes I am like, I want to sit in the office for a bit because I'm tired. Like, you know, you're walking around a lot, you're dealing with a lot, you see some things in there on a bad day, you know, it's exhausting. But I will always try and do that, try and put my life and soul into it because mental health is what matters to me. I see myself working in mental health for the rest of my life. I can't see another job for me. I have no interest in doing anything else. I have no motivation to do anything else. I say I've had loads of jobs, mostly retail, until I got this job, but.
We did history at uni, didn't you?
I did history, yeah.
So
I mean,
is it a recent? I guess most kind of recently you've had this.
I think my biggest problem, something I obviously I talked about regret before. Something I wish I'd changed but can't change. But I mean, I'm changing it now. But something I wish I could change would be knowing what I wanted to do as a career early on in life. But
I think that's because but I guess schools and colleges pressure you so early to.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know,
decide what to do.
You're doing subjects you don't care about, so then you naturally don't care about anything else because you see school as an effort. Some people love school. Yeah. Sometimes I enjoy going to school, but I enjoy education now as a 21-year-old out of education for now more than I did when I was actually in education. Like, I'm fascinated by reading and like.
Yeah, but that's because you're choosing. I guess that's because you're choosing what you want.
Because now I've got into it exactly. So I look at it now thinking, actually, I'm only fucking 21. By the time I'm 24, hopefully I'll be a registered nurse associate. I'll be the nurse in charge sometimes, you know, and that's something I'm excited about doing. I see myself progressing through that job, but I wish I'd known I wanted it earlier because then I could have went to uni and actually done nursing. But I didn't know I was into it until I started doing it or started suffering really badly. So, you know, it is what it is. But I say life is just that journey of understanding that. Okay, I wish I did it earlier, but I'm also very young, so no point in regretting it.
Anything else you want to cover, or have we kind of covered everything?
Yeah, as I say, like, you know, my sort of just general like hope for this was just be able to just get some opinions out and get some sort of things I wanted to voice of it. Like, I know everyone says it, but it really is okay not to be okay. Whether you spend like weeks not talking to people or whether you spend weeks going out and hiding it, you're suffering at the end of the day. Suffering is suffering. It's innate. It is felt in the core of your soul. You would genuinely need to talk to people. You're like, there is no one pat you on the back for hiding your mental health issues. Like, people need to get that head, like that thing out of their head. There is nothing noble about hiding your problems. There is nothing good about suffering so badly that it's ruining your entire life. And you know, people do end up taking their lives. I've tried to take my life, and that was at a time where I thought, there's nothing else now. I can't be arsed going through this anymore. You get to a breaking point, but
do you think it's worse for men? Because obviously the podcast is called Man Up, Man Down. So.
Yeah, so I think definitely in the world we grow up in, that's a good question. Like, I know a lot of my friends are girls. I'm friends with girls, and so I do see a lot of female side of mental health. I don't work on a female ward, but I have worked on female ward. Yeah. You know, you see it, and I'd say in my hospital, the female wards are the hardest to work on because female mental health in this is a lot worse than men's. Or it betrays a lot worse. I don't know how to properly explain what I've just said there, but
is that because is that because women feel a lot of the time that they have to be the ones to care for people rather than have people care for them?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a part of that. Yeah, because obviously in a hospital there's a lot more female workers than there is men, and I guess there's some psychological thing where I think there was kind of argued somewhere that females are more caring or something, so they take up carer roles like teachers. Yeah. You know, but I think there's plenty of men who work there also good. But male mental health is definitely, especially nowadays, something that's coming more into like fruition when it comes to being open about it. Like, I don't see anyone of having to hide things. I don't see male or female as being different. If you're suffering mental health, whether you're a child, whether you're 70 years old, whether you're 21, whether you're doing whatever, you suffer, and that's okay. If you've had a broken arm, you're not going to hide the fact you have a broken arm, are you? You're going to get a cast put on it. Yeah. That's why people like try medications, try therapies, just talk about it, write it down, get into some sort of art, because you can't do it alone. A lot of people isolate themselves. I isolate myself, but I also constantly think about why I'm doing it and how I can beat this. My advice would be genuinely fight until you've got there. There is nothing noble about hiding it. You are going to be okay. I can see why people hide it. I've hid a lot of it myself. I'm also quite proud of it, but you can do it. Like, you're unwell, and that's okay. You know, it's something I'm very passionate about because I really, you know, I've never lost anyone in my life to a mental health issue, but I know I've met friends who have had a friend commit suicide. Yeah. And you can see the effects it has on them. And afterwards, if if you could bring a suicidal person back to life after they committed suicide, and see how much people actually really cared about that person, they would sit there thinking, I wish I didn't do that. But when you're in that moment, it's the only thing, and it's a very sad. It's people aren't weak if you commit suicide. People aren't weak if you cut yourself. You're not weak. Genuinely, to even admit that you've done it, to even do it, is an act of rebellion. You are genuinely fighting a symptom. You are fighting an illness, and it's what I'm very passionate about. Obviously, and talk, and I can't say it enough. If things had gone differently last year, I could not be here right now. If I didn't have actually then told someone that I'd taken an overdose and they got me to hospital, that's how it happened for me. And now I'm alive, and it's great. And it's I don't enjoy a lot of life, but I also love it at the same time. It's all about understanding that you live in a different mindset because of the chemicals in your brain and because of what you've been through. So yeah.
If you suspected that someone near to you had a mental health thing, how would you how would you talk to them, but also how would you confirm that they do have something going on? What are the signs?
So I like to be observant. I think my one of the nurses at my work described me as a people watcher, because she noticed that if you want to work night out, and I like to spend a lot of my time observing, not staring at people obviously, but you kind of thinking, is that person struggling? Is that person actually hiding something? And you can often tell just by the eyes. I think the eyes never lie and stuff. But this person said to me, Brendan, you're a people watcher. I can always tell in work, you're always observing something. You're trying to see if something's about to happen. I had an interesting conversation with a very good friend of mine. We met recently, we had a drink, having a talk, and she had known about all my mental health issues. Obviously, I spoke about it, but I'd never known anything about her. And she had mentioned, obviously, I don't want to publicly voice her mental health issues. She had mentioned something which to then me clicked in my head. Right, I need to ask this question now. And it's kind of how we started talking before. You had mentioned something, but obviously we met to talk about it, obviously.
Yeah.
But she, I didn't know she was suffering. I had no idea. I knew she had issues in life. And
was it because that's something that she was talking about related to your own?
Yeah, so we're just having a normal conversation, and it ended up spiralling into her kind of giving off what I call a sort of flag, in a sense, where I actually thought, okay, so that sounds like a traumatic event in your past. So I said, how has that affected you? And then from that question, we started doing this. So then I started interviewing her, in a sense. I was like, okay, so can you tell me how you think that's affected you, or is there something you do to try and hide all this? Do you think it's genuinely still affecting you now? And she opened up, and it was lovely to see, because although I heard a lot of stuff which made me upset, and you think, oh wow, I'm sorry you go through that.
I guess a lot of people turn that introductory way into the conversation, don't they, to talk about it?
Exactly.
Spill it.
Genuinely, to me, I love asking these questions to people, because obviously people wonder, why do you want to know? Why do you want to know? To me, if I can put one smile on someone's face or make someone feel heard, no, I've done a good job. And I always do this. I always ask my friends, so how are things going right now? You've got to make sure you constantly ask people, because people get too caught up in the social side of life, social media especially, just trying to be happy all the time, and also not talk about the problems. And if you can sit there and get one of your friends to open up and they feel comfortable, to be trusted is a greater compliment than being loved. I can't remember who said that. It might have been Leo Tolstoy, but to be trusted by someone, to have someone come up to you and trust you enough to actually open up about their pain and the hell they're going through.
Yeah.
That is just a beautiful thing, and you should feel proud of yourself if you've managed to get through to someone, because those who are hardest to love need it the most. Those who are quietest need taught the most. But yeah, sorry, I kind of go on ramblings, but waffle. But yeah, I don't know. It's just I just wish I could be able to say to everyone, you can come talk to you can talk to me if people know me. Genuinely, I say this to my own girlfriend a lot. I say this to my friends. Look, one line I say a lot is, I work in a mental hospital. I suffer my own mental health issues. Everything I do or post is about mental health. My arm's covered in tattoos to do with mental health or music or art, which have expressed my own pain. I've heard it all before. I've seen things in the hospital. I've gone through my own hell. You're not judged by me. You're never going to. And I think a lot of people need to realise that they're not going to be judged by everyone. Some people aren't going to judge people. Some people are arseholes.
I guess it's also part of being human, is that we all
exactly
we all judge people.
Exactly. We all assume that other people are going to think we're dickheads or we're weak. We're not. I think there is nothing more remarkable and nothing stronger than a person who has come up to me and said, look, I'm really struggling, can we talk about this? I think I get so happy when I hear that, because I'm thinking, well done on you. Well done, you've come to me, or you've come to someone and you've opened up. Open up is the worst feeling ever, but after it, if that person has responded the way you wanted them to, or the way you hoped they would, you feel so much more at ease, you feel calm, because a part of you's done something about it. A lot of the times when I've gone to A&E, I've been dreading myself on my way there, but once I'm actually sat there, I've got out, I'm thinking, I feel better now, because someone else knows what I'm going through now. Someone knows that this is going to change, this is going to change now, I'm going to get better. And it's a journey, as I say.
Problem shared is a problem halved.
Exactly, yeah, well, exactly, you've got to help carry the weight of other people's things. You can't carry it all on your own.
Yeah.
And, this is why in my work, a lot of us also do suffer our mental health issues, because whether it be the reason we got the job or because of the job, there are a lot of mental health things in place for staff, because stuff you see is stress. So if you're going to help people with mental health, you've also got to make sure your mental health is also not suffering too bad. So we all talk to each other. We're all very close. It's very good to, and that's the best
how many of you work there?
How long have I worked there?
No, how many people work in your?
So my ward alone, I don't know, like regular people you see, whether it's been like ward-based staff to the administrative staff, the consultants, the psychologists, the doctors, you probably see like maybe 30 people just on that, maybe less. I don't know. It's quite hard to think because obviously staff leave, staff come and go. You don't always see the same staff members. You go weeks without seeing the same staff member because of shift patterns and stuff. Probably more than that. There's a lot of people in my ward, and there's a lot of people in other wards, and you get to know everyone, and everyone kind of knows each other in the end. And yeah, it really is like a community in there. Hence why I love my job, because I really feel like a part of a team. Working on a ward for me is like a massive achievement. Even if anyone can get that job, you have to be a certain person to get that job.
Yeah,
to want to do it.
But to put up with all the stuff that you
exactly
put up with, I guess, as well.
Exactly. I feel like as Carl Jung says, knowing your own darkness is the best way to understand other people's. And that's why I love the people I work with, because I understand them as people. They're compassionate, and you can see that what they're doing makes a difference to not only the people who look after, but to themselves.
Do you, I guess kind of maybe one final note is, how are you doing now?
How am I doing now? That's a very good question. So
are you feeling more positive on the whole?
So as I said, we're being tested for bipolar, which is a high possibility. Like at the minute, as I said, I'm in a kind of high period where I'm dead confident. I'm like happy. I've got my worries, but under control and stuff. But the way I genuinely assess my mental health now, going off what I've been for the last 4 years, I would have never thought I would have got here. I never would have thought that, even though I'm still struggling the same amount, it's all about the mental mindset I have. It's all about how well I actually deal with this now, and how well I'm able to kind of not ignore it, but also like control it in a sense of I'm ignoring my anxieties, because realistically that anxiety isn't real. The fear you feel is only felt for yourself, so it is real. But the actual,
I think Harry used the word this morning, which was irrational.
Irrational. No one else can feel your anxiety because it's only unique to you, the things you're worrying about. A lot of time it doesn't exist. Some anxieties will happen, and they will happen. And
so I guess some are more, not that any of them aren't justified, but I guess some are more justified in that if someone in your family dies or if you lose your job, of course you're going to be more anxious.
Exactly, but sometimes a lot of us get irrational worries, which realistically, if we actually took a second to think about them, don't make any sense.
Yeah.
And I think it's about filtering them out. If okay, I've got a worry. Realistically, is it something that could happen? Yes. Okay, let's think about this. Is it actually going to be as bad as I think it is? If yes, okay, it will happen. If you generally
it's also, is it something you can affect?
Yeah, exactly. Is it something you can
change?
As I said, it's about change. You can't control the future. You can't control what's going to happen. You can only live through it.
Yeah.
And life really is horrible, in my opinion, but we all somehow get through it, and I think that's the best part about it. As I say, I'm quite pessimistic in a sense in which I believe none of it matters. It is hell. You will go through hell. Life is suffering. But Nietzsche says, to live is to suffer, to survive is to find meaning in the suffering. That's how I believe it. To be able to say you've survived something so terrible, to be able to say that you've survived years of misery or days of crying or weeks of anxiety, to be able to sit there at the end of that, and even if you still go through it, but to be able to sit there and be like, you know what, I can leave it all behind. Yeah. I got through it. You can always say, I lived through it, but I got through it. Okay, I suffered massively, I had a massive breakdown, but I got through it. There is something so amazing about that, in my opinion, and yeah, that's the way I kind of see it. It's just keep fighting. Like, it's not going to be easy. Life isn't easy, and it never will be. But keep fighting. That's why it's a challenge. It's like running a marathon or walking it. It's a mental game in that it takes it all out of you. But you've done it. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't know. I have a hard time kind of turning all this waffle into actual sense. But
it's all good stuff, and it's all come from, again, someone who's passionate and also very experienced and knows what they're talking about, which
I like.
That's why we got you on, I guess.
We're
not experienced.
No. Well, this is the thing. My own experience only comes from what I've picked up working in a mental health hospital, but also what I've been through for myself. But I also read quite a lot. I also I read a lot of philosophical books which have changed how I think. Like, I don't know many people who read, necessarily, but I could recommend several books to people which massively changed the way I think. Like, I don't know, if you're into reading, try out The Unbearable Lightness of Being by a Czech author called Milan Kundera. His book, I don't know how to explain that book, but it's about a story, but all to do with this guy's his own personal metaphorical sort of philosophies, and his metaphors are impersonated by characters in the book, and at the end, it's just fantastic. I really would recommend that book. I'd also, but I'd say my advice is get into art, get into something to express yourself.
Yeah, whether that is art or music or filming or writing.
Don't beat yourself up if you have unhealthy coping mechanisms. As long as you're aware and you can change those, in the end, you're gonna be fine. Like, accept that some days you are gonna just drink till you fall asleep because you're so tired, and some days you're gonna wake up and do nothing. Some days you are gonna stay in bed, but sometimes staying in bed's fine. Because I very rarely am in my own bed. But if you spend a day in bed, realistically, you've got a million more days to come. So what does it matter? I think just asking yourself, what does it matter? And it massively helps me just kind of realise, actually, it's in my head. It's not necessarily real. It's the product of an illness. And let's just carry on.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
So should we wrap up there?
Yeah, that's been fantastic. I'd say thanks for having me on. It's been a wonderful chat.
That's all right. Can anybody, if anybody wants to find you on Instagram or anything,
that's more than happy. I'm Brendan_Devine 2209.
Cool.
Hit me up.
Well, thank you for coming on. It's definitely been quite an eye-opening thing, because it's something that you know a lot about, and I think it's just better than just me and Harry waffling for 2 hours.
I've enjoyed listening to what you've already done already. I've also really enjoyed being on it. Like it's the first time I've ever done anything like this. Obviously, I'm quite nervous about how it's going to turn out, how I sound. Probably sound like a bit of a dick, but that's my own perception, isn't it?
But it's kind of the first time me and Harry have ever done a podcast, so we're learning as you are. So
exactly. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Peter.
But yeah, thank you. Join us next time when we'll be doing something. I don't know what.
Something, probably a podcast.
Yeah, I think we're going to probably get maybe a slightly cheery one next time. Maybe we'll do one about school experiences or fairs or something. I mean, fairs isn't that cheery, but
you've got a lot to cover, haven't you?
We've got a few topics we want to do, so we'll pick one out of the hat and we'll have another guest on, hopefully. So join us then next Saturday. Thank you. Bye.